In tonight's news, the Caritas Medical Centre apologises after an elderly man dies following an oxygen blunder. Hong Kong hits out after US lawmakers take aim at its trade offices. And former top US diplomat Henry Kissinger dies at the age of 100.
The Caritas Medical Centre has apologized following the death of a 79-year-old patient who had been scheduled to have eye surgery this morning. He was suspected to have suffered from intestinal obstruction when his blood oxygen level decreased yesterday morning. As his situation kept deteriorating, a doctor and 2 nurses transferred him from the eye ward to the intensive care unit 3 floors below. But the patient's oxygen level continued to drop even though the medics had increased the supply. Hospital Chief Executive Nelson Watt said it was found after 5 minutes that the valve of the oxygen cylinder was not open.
由個臨時儲存瓶去返固定嘅牆壁輸送。
He said the medical team only realized it when they tried to connect the tube of the patient's oxygen mask from the cylinder to the oxygen wall outlet. Although the oxygen supply resumed and resuscitation efforts were made, the man died after an hour and a half. A hissing sound is emitted when the valve of the cylinder is turned on, and the sound can still be heard if extra oxygen remains from a previous usage. The Shamsherpo Hospital has made a report to the coroner and implemented measures such as requiring staff to demonstrate the use of the cylinder to their department heads. A root cause analysis panel will be set up to investigate the incident. It hopes the intelligent oxygen cylinder, which the hospital authority has decided to adopt next year, can greatly reduce risks by allowing staff to monitor its operation online. No one has been suspended following the incident. Janice Low, Cable News.
As part of the one country, two systems principle, the Hong Kong government maintains a global network of offices overseas. The 14 Economic and Trade Offices, or ETOs, act as de facto diplomatic missions of the SAR and enjoy certain privileges and immunities. But 3 ETOs in U.S. cities, San Francisco, New York, and Washington, D.C., face an uncertain future after U.S. lawmakers endorsed a bill which could lead to their closures. The Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office Certification Act argues that if Hong Kong no longer enjoys a high degree of autonomy as promised during the handover, the privileges granted to its ETOs shall be revoked. Introduced in February, the bill was approved by a Senate committee in July. It was the House Foreign Affairs Committee's turn overnight to vet the bill.
On this vote, the ayes are 39, the noes are 0.
Ayes have it. Motion is agreed to without objection. Motion reconsidered is laid on the table.
Should the bill be passed in both the full Senate and House, U.S. President Joe Biden will have to declare if the ETOs will retain their privileges. The SAR government condemned what it called the gross interference of Hong Kong affairs and complete disregard of the city's status. The Foreign Ministry's office in Hong Kong also urged Washington to right its wrong before it is too late. Raymond Yang, Cable News.
Retail sales in Hong Kong last month rose 5.6% from a year ago to $33.8 billion. It was the 11th straight month that sales improved, but growth was the slowest this year and failed to meet market estimates of a 10% increase. Online shopping rose 8.4%, with transactions hitting $3.7 billion, 11% of total sales. Annie Yao Tse, chairwoman of the Hong Kong Retail Management Association, noted that typhoons and more Hong Kongers crossing the border affected the local market. She expects lackluster sales to continue into the first half of next year. But she said the forthcoming Christmas holiday will boost spending as retailers are offering generous discounts, although demand could be curtailed due to outbound travel. Janice Yu, Cable News.
Reaction has been mixed following the death of former U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger at the age of 100. Beijing described him as an old friend who helped to establish ties between China and the United States. He visited the mainland several times and in July held talks with President Xi Jinping. Kissinger served under President Richard Nixon during the Cold War. The former top U.S. diplomat was one of the most dependable and distinctive voices on foreign affairs, according to former President George W. Bush. But critics accused the Nobel Peace Prize winner of supporting authoritarian regimes that killed civilians. Kissinger died at his home in Connecticut, but the cause is not known.
Israeli police and medics rushed to a bus stop in Jerusalem after two gunmen opened fire during the morning rush hour. 3 people were killed and at least 6 wounded. Police killed both assailants, who were Hamas operatives, according to National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir. Earlier, Israeli forces again raided Jenin in the occupied West Bank. 4 Palestinians were killed, including 2 boys aged 8 and 15. Since the Gaza crisis began, about 250 Palestinians have been killed in almost daily Israeli attacks on towns in occupied territory.
A ceasefire in Gaza has been extended for a 7th day, just minutes before it was due to expire. The breakthrough came hours after another 30 Palestinians arrived in the occupied West Bank from jails in Israel. They included 22-year-old Ahed Tamimi, who gained fame for confronting Israeli soldiers when they arrested her family members. In return, Hamas freed 10 Israeli women and children, and 4 Thai nationals in a 6th exchange of captives. They were among 240 people taken hostage when a Hamas raid on southern Israel last month claimed 1,200 lives. The Israeli airstrikes that followed killed about 15,000 Palestinians.
Declines in 2 key gauges have renewed expectations that mainland authorities will step in to revive demand. Factory activity fell marginally, with the official Purchasing Managers Index for November dipping to 49.4 as it retreated for the 2nd straight month. The non-manufacturing index eased to 15.2, but remained in expansion mode. Weak domestic and external demand contributed to the lackluster results.
The government's fiscal position has improved for the first time in 4 months, but it remained deeply in the red for the first 7 months of the 2023-24 financial year, with a deficit of $173 billion by the end of October. That's compared to a deficit of $178 billion in the previous month. The improvement was largely attributed to proceeds of $67 billion from green bonds. Fiscal reserves stood at $662 billion. While salaries and profits taxes usually come in towards the end of the financial year, dwindling revenue from land sales has dealt the public coffers a major blow.
Chief Executive John Lee took a ride on the city's first hydrogen-fueled bus today and said he hopes green technology will be introduced in more carbon-emitting sectors, such as power generation and construction. The bus, which can carry 119 passengers, will start operating in Kowloon in January, along with Hong Kong's first hydrogen refueling station. Citybus Operations and Engineering Director Vincent Fong echoed Lee in saying hydrogen buses are an excellent way to promote zero emissions and improve air quality. Citybus plans to replace all its diesel vehicles with buses powered by hydrogen or electricity by 2045. It also plans to test whether hydrogen or electric buses are more efficient for Hong Kong. The city's first hydrogen refueling station is located in the company's West Kowloon depot in Sham Shui Po. Another refueling station will be built in Chai Wan next year. Citybus is aiming to add more than 5 hydrogen double-deckers to its fleet. Each bus can travel 400 kilometers after 10 to 15 minutes of refueling, compared with 200 kilometers for electric buses after they are charged. Janice Yu, Cable News.